First of all, I would like to thank Tughril Bhai, Wasim Bhai, and this wonderful group, Muslim knowledge seekers, for giving me a platform to express my views and the little knowledge I have acquired by attending the Masters of Islamic Studies program at the Islamic College of Advanced Studies affiliated to the University of Middlesex. Today's topic of discussion is humanism in Islam and what Quran talks about humanism. Let's not confuse humanism with humanity, because humanity deals with benevolence, whereas humanism is a philosophy that emphasizes the value of the agency of human beings, both individually and collectively as a society. Humanism views humans as solely responsible for the promotion and development of individuals, and it emphasizes for humans in relation to the world, how we are performing in this world and how we are getting ready for the next world. Humanism in Islam is demonstrated by its history after the inception of Islam. Within 3 centuries, at a very fast pace, the potential among the Muslims was realized, and Muslims were able to reach the golden age. And they contributed to the world civilization till the 14th century, for definite. I mean, there has been some contribution after 14th century, but the main contribution of the Muslim civilization to the world has been till the 14th century. And it will not be an understatement to say that the European Renaissance was based upon the Islamic humanism. Renaissance was a cultural and educational revolution in Europe. And one of my favorite scholars, Dr. Syed Nasser, who is a graduate of physics from MIT and a graduate of scientific philosophy from Harvard, when he submitted his dissertation at Harvard in the early 60s, the dissertation was rejected because early 60s is, we are talking about 55, 56 years back. The Western world had not accepted that the European Renaissance, the scientific revolution, the industrial revolution, and even the modernism in today's form owe a lot to the Islamic civilization. Humanism in Islam is based upon the religion introduced by our Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the revelations he received in form of Quran, and the society he developed. Now, having given you all this background of humanism and Renaissance and scientific revolution, industrial revolution, modernism, and modernism is a philosophy that had arose from the broad transformation that occurred in the Western civilization in the 19th and the 20th century to create a new form of art, a new form of religion, a new form of social organization, a new form of religion, education, reflecting the newly emerging industrial world. So, giving you this background, I have three questions in my mind. Does Islam recognize man as a helpless creature whose ultimate goal and ideal is to stand powerless in front of God? That is my first question. Is man so helpless in front of God? Or has God created man to be powerless in front of him? My second question is, does Islam recognize humanism as a nobility? My third question is helplessness a prerequisite of belief in Islam? Does Islam requires man to be helpless in front of God? Or on the contrary, is Islam a belief that is to bestow the originality upon man and respect man's virtue? So, to understand the status of man in the eyes of God, let us go to the 30th verse of Surah Baqarah, which is the final testament of God, in which God announced to the angels that He is creating His vicegerent, His Khalifa, His representative, His ambassador on the earth. And angels who were so dedicated worshippers of God, even they asked, "Oh God, we spend our time worshiping you, singing your praise, and you are creating someone who is going to be corrupt on the earth." And God responded to angels, "I know what you do not know." So, vicegerent, Khalifa, representative, ambassador of God on this earth. Fakhruddin al-Razi, a theologian of the 12th century, in his Tafsir al-Kabir, had written that there was life on the earth before God created man. There were jinns living on the earth, and they had become so corrupt that God sent a team of angels headed by Iblis to finish them. And Iblis was very proud of having killed those jinns on the earth. And that is why angels asked the question, why are you creating someone who is going to have corruption and killings on the earth? Now, according to the Prophet's uncle Ibn Abbas' progeny had whether sorry, again, I'm getting disturbed with this. Ibn Abbas's progeny formulated or established the Abbasi Khalifas after Banu Umayyah. He had stated that angels were made from light, jinns were made from smokeless fire, and man was created from mud. And man being created from mud, clay, has been mentioned several times in the Quran. So after Adam's body was created, it was in a lifeless state, according to Ibn Abbas, for 40 years. And Iblis, Satan, used to taunt, saying that when I come to power, I'm going to destroy you. So after creating Adam, God blew his spirit into Adam. He taught him names. That's what the ayat says. It's a continuation of the 30th verse of Surah Baqarah. And he called Adam in front of the angels, and he instructed Adam. He said, "Tell me the names if you're truthful." Adam responded. And then God asked the angels to prostrate to Adam. Now, names, Ibn Abbas says they were names of objects used in common discourse. Another Tabi'een were the successors of the companions of Prophet, Mujahid ibn Jabbar, he said that names meant a vast knowledge of the universe. So God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the first teacher of man. And after he taught him, after he blew his spirit in him, he asked the angels to prostrate to Adam. Now, pay attention to four qualities of man. One, man is the vicegerent of God on the earth, God's Khalifa, God's representative, God's ambassador on the earth. Second, God blew his spirit in man. Third, God was the first teacher of man. Fourth, God made angels prostrate to man. So these are the merits of everyone listening to me today. And this is the worth of man described in the Quran. Even in the post-Renaissance Europe and in this modernized world where there's so much human rights activists, there's so much of no one has been able to bestow such exalting sanctity upon man. No one ever thought of what, of how, of why God has created man for. He made man his Khalifa. He blew his spirit in him. He taught him, he gave him knowledge, and he made the angels prostrate to him. So we should always have this in our mind when we act, because a lot of responsibility comes with these merits. Now, we are going to discuss all these four qualities. And inshallah, if Allah permits, I would invite other speakers to discuss how to become worthy of these four qualities, according to our book, according to our Quran. So the first quality, God chose us as his vicegerent, his Khalifa, his ambassador, his representative. Now, if the President of the United States is selecting an ambassador to England or Sweden or Norway, there are certain qualities the president sees in the ambassador so that he represents the country in the best possible way. So now, when we are the ambassadors of the Supreme One on this earth, and he has set a protocol in form of his guidance, the final testament being the Holy Quran, we need to be very self-conscious of following his guidance. The more stringently we follow, the more is our merit as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Khalifa on this earth. So being a Khalifa, you have more responsibility, like being an ambassador of the United States to any country. You have a lot of responsibilities. Now let's come to the second quality of man. God blew his spirit in man. God blew his spirit in man. On one hand, God made man out of mud, out of clay, and at places in Quran it's mentioned of some kind of soil which is like potter's soil, which is the lowest mud, clay, earth on which we walk, on animals walk. That is the lowest. And on the other hand, God has blown his spirit in you. So you have two dimensions now. One is the lowest, the mud, and other, the highest, God's spirit, which tends towards loftiness with no limits. God's spirit does not have any limits, and he has blown his spirit inside you. Now it is up to you to choose between the two dimensions you have. One is the lowest of the lowest, the mud. One is the highest of the highest, the Holy Spirit, which leads you towards providence. And on top of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted you a free will. So you have two dimensions with the free will. So either work towards divinity or act against the physiological laws of your own nature and work towards your muddy nature. And when you have free will, and we'll discuss an ayat, when you have free will, it again comes with a responsibility. And the responsibility is just not for your own faith. The responsibility is also as a representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth. There are two schools of thoughts, and these are these school of thoughts are in the very early uh, era of Islam, free will and predestination. The Mutazili believed only in free will, and there was a group which just believed in predestination. That means any action which I'm doing, I'm destined to do it. But Hassan al-Ashari came up with the philosophy of acquisition. According to Hassan al-Ashari, which came in between free will and predestination, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created good and evil. And in fact, he softened the word that Allah created evil. He softened the word with kas, and then granted power of acquisition to man. Now, You have good, you have evil. Allah has granted you a power of acquisition to man and given a will so that you can acquire either good or evil, and you are being judged according to your actions. And even in the Quran, the 256th verse of Surah Al-Baqarah, free will is discussed in the form that there is no compulsion in religion. In my last lecture, we discussed what religion is. So let's go back, review that the 172nd verse of Surah Araf, you had made a covenant, ahead, an agreement, a deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the primordial form that is before you came to this earthly form, the primordial form, which is called Mitaf in the Quran. And Allah had asked you, am I not your Lord? And you responded, yes, you are my Lord. So when you have accepted your Creator as your Lord, that means you have to follow His guidance. Well, what happens is when man uh, comes to this earthly, comes in this earthly form, he forgets. But there is an imprint of that agreement you had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on your soul. It was in the primordial form. But when you come in the earthly form, that imprint is there on the soul. And a religion is which takes you back to that covenant. It makes you comply with the agreement you had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your primordial form. Now, with this two dimensions, one which is taking you towards your muddy nature, and the other which is taking you towards your divine nature. There is a war at every stage a man goes through. The religion is taking you towards your divine nature, and there's a war that takes place. And let's discuss it, just interrupt it with the third quality, where Allah had made the angels prostrate to you, prostrate to Adam. Iblis was a lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was among the top worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when he was asked to prostrate to Adam, there are some scholars who have written that he did not accept. He did not want to prostrate to anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some scholars have written that it was only symbolic, that he made Adam the Qibla, but Iblis did not accept it. And he showed his true nature. And he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because Allah had granted the four qualities we have been discussing to man, which were not there with Iblis. So Iblis was jealous of man. He became very vindictive. He was arrogant. He disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And later on, backbiting, backstabbing, etc. So this is the second lesson of my lecture today, is if you are involved in jealousy, in being vindictive, in backbiting, in backstabbing, in arrogance, in envy. Definitely, you're not following the guidance which was sent to us through our Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are satanic traits, and whoever does this is a follower of Satan than a prophet, than a follower of our Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, coming back to the two dimensions, Satan comes in and Satan takes, Iblis takes advantage. While man is struggling between these two dimensions, dragging himself away from the lowest muddy dimension towards the lofty dimension, spirit of God, towards divinity, Satan comes and he's a catalyst towards taking us to the lowest dimension of man. And man struggles. That's a struggle we have day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute, second to second, where Satan is distracting you. He's distracting you to reach towards divinity. And this war started right from the beginning of civilization, when among the two sons of Adam, Abel and Cain, Cain killed Abel because of jealousy. And Satan was instrumental in instigating Cain to kill Abel. So we have discussed the three merits. Now the fourth merit. God taught Adam names. He gave him knowledge. And by giving him knowledge, he made man superior to the angels and asked angels to prostrate to Adam. And that's what humanism is all about. The potential man got. When God gave him the knowledge, and God became the first teacher of man. And it was so lofty that angels were made to prostrate to Adam. Having got the knowledge from God himself during the primordial education, man possesses understanding of universe, comprehending the existing scientific facts about universe. And it has been so many centuries and centuries. We are still extracting the resources what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So, is science not fall under the purview of Islam? Well, science is under the purview of Islam. All the Muslim scientists, Islamic scholars, and prior to Renaissance, there was no term like science. Everything was philosophy. Math was under philosophy. Physics was under philosophy. Ibn Sina was a Hafiz al-Quran at the age of 9. And at the age of 16, there was no medical science which Ibn Sina did not know. And it all fell under the purview of Islamic philosophy. And science falls under Islam. And man has to fashion his fate accordingly, and specifically the Muslims. And we are talking of Muslims of 500 years. The last 500 years, the way we have gone down, 1.8 billion of us. So sad. Only 2 Nobel Prize winners in science, and one of them we have ostracized, saying that you're not a Muslim, you're a Qadiani. So only one. Only one. Like I have told in the last lecture, if there was a Nobel Prize before the 13th century, before the 13th century, do you think any non-Muslim could have got a Nobel Prize? It was just not possible. We have given so much to the world. The concept of pharmacy, the concept of the emergency room in a hospital has been given by a Muslim. I have read a book by George Saliba, The Making of the European Renaissance, based upon the Islamic civilization. And what he has done is he has taken Copernicus's diagram and he took Ibn Shatir's diagram. Copernicus had copied Ibn Shatir's diagram. What Ibn Shatir had given in the 13th century, Copernicus just copied it, his figures in the 16th century. When the Oxford University was being formed, Roger Bacon, one of the founders, he learned Arabic. And the first library of the Oxford University, and I think that's the second continuous school, the first is a school in Spain, that is the second continuous oldest school in the world, was based upon the Muslim books. Now, angels had racial superiority because angels were made from light. Iblis thought that he had racial superiority over man because he was made of smokeless fire and man was made from the lowest, the mud. But man is God's student, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's student. Allah granted man the potential to explore. Angels do not have that potential to explore. And so our third lesson of the lecture today is nobility and superiority comes from knowledge and not racial superiority. Not, and to expand it, not superiority according to affluence. Knowledge gives superiority to men. And there are several verses of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to establish man's superiority. In the 72nd verse of Surah Azab, Allah says that he offered trust to the heavens, trust to the earth, trust to the mountains, and they all denied. And then man went forward and accepted to bear the trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, trust is the heavens, the earth, or the mountains. They wanted to be passively obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some scholars have said that this verse is only a metaphor. But some scholars have explained that Allah's creation, like the heaven, the earth, the mountains, they just wanted to be passively obedient. But man took up the challenge because man had the free will. But the verse continues, same verse, the 72nd verse of Surah Ahzab continues. It says that man proved to be an ignorant wrongdoer. Not generalizing, but mostly man has proved that even though it took the trust, it took the challenge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it has proved to be ignorant wrongdoer in spite of being granted such merits from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, your superiority comes with your free will. You have been given the potential by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a free will. And he has said that there's no compulsion in religion. He has left you. He's given you education. He has educated you. He has given you intellect. Now it is your job to come out of your body nature and go towards the divine nature. And the guidance has come in the form of the Quran. The religion, what our prophet has formulated, the society which our prophet developed. Let's take an example. Like in the medieval period, the Christianity, when Galileo had expressed that the earth revolves round the sun, he was declared as a heretic by the church. The church orthodoxy had believed that the sun revolves around the earth and the earth is stationary, and Galileo was imprisoned. And it took 300 years for the church to realize and clear Galileo's name from heresy in 1992. And in 2000, Pope John Paul II issued a formal apology to Galileo. This did not happen in the Islamic civilization, because Islamic civilization, right from its inception, believed in humanism. The Prophet had introduced a very modernized form of religion. That too, in a civilization where girls used to be buried alive, a civilization full of revenge. The Prophet was born in that Arab civilization, and how he changed it in such a short period of time to build a community, to build a society. His devotion and his virtue and the team of companions he had, who were just, who were constructive, who were concerned about building a progressive society full of social justice, which led Islam to the golden age. Please bear in mind that in Islam, man is not subjugated by God. Man is God's friend. Man is God's Khalifa. Man is God's trustee. I'm not saying that. The Quran is saying it. So, you have a very esteemed position in the eyes of God. He's your teacher in the primordial form. And you're charged with great responsibility. If I am a low-paid employee of an organization, my responsibilities are very less. But if I'm a vice president of an organization, if I'm a president of an organization, if I'm a CEO of an organization, my responsibilities are very high. So responsibilities on you. When God has given you these qualities, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with these qualities, your responsibilities become much higher. You have to excel, and you have to realize the responsibilities which He has given in you. And you have to realize the potential. And the way to realize your potential is through the final testament of His guidance, which was revealed through the heart of a person with an exemplary character. And the person being unlettered makes Quran a miracle. What blessings Quran has bestowed upon man is summarized in Surah Rahman. He showered so many blessings upon man. He created man. He created the heavens and the earth and everything between them. His infinite mercy, the resources He provided, the rising and the setting of the sun, the day to work and the night to rest, taught men to communicate, gave Quran as a guidance for the path of righteousness. But Surah Rahman chastises mankind and jinn for lacking gratitude towards God and not living up to the potential granted to man. And 31 times, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks a question to man: which then of your Lord's blessing will you deny? Fabi'ai alai rabbikuma, verse 1. And finally, just to make you realize your importance, in the 20th verse of Surah Luqman and the 13th verse of Surah Jatiyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that whatsoever He has created, the heavens and the earth, and whatsoever is in between the heavens and the earth, He has made it subservient to man. He has made angels prostrate to you. Everything is subservient to man. Man has been created so superior. And He's urging, not once, maybe about 25 or 27 times in the Quran, reflect on the signs we have provided. Think, ponder, rationalize, realize the purpose of your creation. So let me summarize. Man is two-dimensional. One, from the mud, he has been created. The other, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blew His spirit in him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created man supreme and granted free will to man. He educated him. He was his first teacher. He made him his Khalifa, his trustee. He made angels prostrate to man. Now it is left to man to choose the path between the two dimensions. It's a constant fight man goes through, and Satan is dragging you towards your low dimension. And please remember, if one is jealous, arrogant, envious, backbiting, backstabbing, bad-mouthing, vindictive, the person is not a follower of Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's a follower of Satan. Thank you very much. I would invite any questions, and Sister Farah Beg would be taking over and moderating from here. You could unmute, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Assalamu alaikum, Mehdi.
Walaikum salam.
MashaAllah, the best presentation. I love your knowledge and command on the subject, and each and every word that you utter, believe me, it went through my heart, and we learned a lot today.
Thank you.
MashaAllah, keep up the good work, and I pray for you. And I have no questions, but just a simple advice. I know that this is a very good subject that you brought it. I want you to connect it directly with the people by in a very. I know that your presentation was very philosophical, and most of the people like I somehow in between I had a little difficulty for grasping the total meanings of different things. But in general, what I got was really amazing, and believe me, that's the bottom line. And I wish you well, and keep up this good work, and we continue having several more lectures like this from you and from different people. And this is a very knowledgeable presentation. I really appreciate it. May Allah bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wasim Bhai. Thank you so much for your encouragement.
I have a question, Mehdi.
Ji.
When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, He also wrote our muqaddar or taqdeer. What is going to happen is going to happen to us. But meantime, we have to keep trying. But we cannot change the muqaddar. So what is your concept about taqdeer and your action?
Okay. Tughal bhai, Alhamdulillah, I'm going through Quran very thoroughly. It's just not the translations. I'm going through the tafsirs by very good scholars like Dr. Nasser or Ibn Khatir, um, Allama Tabatabai. And nowhere I have read that he has written a taqdeer. No. And that is the philosophy. Because this was, it happened, it is in the first 50 years of Islam, this philosophy of free will and predestination had started. The Mutazalis had believed that everything is free will, and their opponents had believed that everything is predestination. Now, if everything is predestination, don't you think it's unfair that for all the bad things I have done in life, because it was predestined, so why should Allah punish me? Because it was predestined. And Hassan al-Ashri had come out with a balance. And in Sayyid Razi had collected the sayings and the letters and sermons of Imam Ali. A person had come and asked Imam Ali, how much free will you have? So Imam asked the person to stand on one foot. He was able to do that. Then the Imam asked the person to stand on without resting his feet on the ground, and he asked, "How can I do that?" So that's what it is. Your free will. There is a free will to a certain extent because He's the Supreme, He's the Omnipotent. But He has granted you a free will. And when you have a free will, you're acting based upon that. And He has given you a guidance. He has shown you what is good and what is bad. And you have the choice now to make between good and bad. And then He is going to be the judge. So everything is not predestined, Total Man. Everything is predestined. Then all the gunas I have done, I cannot be punished for that.
I think, though, one basic argument is that if you believe that God knows everything, like if He is completely knowledgeable of everything, He already knows what choices you're going to make. It's not like God is unaware of what choice you're going to make. So I think that's where the confusion comes in, is because if we're all, we think we're making choices, but ultimately God knows what choices we're going to make because He's omnipotent. He knows already everything. And then if, there's an idea that like time and space only exist in this realm that we're living in right now. And in God's view of things, time is taking place all at the same time. And so He knows what came in the past, but He also knows everything that comes in the future. So I think that's where the confusion comes in as to what is predetermined and what is actually our choice. We think we have a choice because God gave us that capacity, but do we really? I don't know.
A lot of philosophers has discussed this subject. and the created and the uncreated. Some believe that all these actions we take are uncreated. That means, like you said, God knows all the actions, what a person is going to take. But still, has been given a free will. And a lot of discussions have happened among the philosophers, among the scholars on the same subject. I, for one, believe that he has given me a free will. He has given me an intellect. He has given me knowledge. He has given me the qualities to acquire knowledge. And then he is going to judge me based upon my actions on this world.
Assalamualaikum, Mahdi.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazar Bhai. Kaise hain? How are you?
Alhamdulillah. I'm sorry I had an important phone call which clashed with your talk, so I missed it. So hopefully you've recorded it and I can watch it later.
Yeah, I have recorded it today, and yeah, inshallah, I'll put it.
I think adding to what you just said, the other point and what Madam Farah said, which I think is an interesting point, is that we believe in a just God. You know, adl or justice is a key aspect of God's essence, if you like, and therefore a just God cannot therefore predetermine all our actions and then hold us accountable for them. So the point the lady made about choice is definitely there. So your destiny, aap jo mukhaddar jise keh rahe hain, is following the choices you make in life. And because in most of the time you're faced with two different paths, and it's the path you choose that then determines your destiny beyond that point. So Allah ka justice won't allow him to predetermine all your actions and then question you about it. And we need to keep these two things separate. Knowledge of God is one thing, giving us free will is another thing. As Farah mentioned, God knows what we are going to do, but that doesn't mean he actually forces us to choose that option. So God's knowledge is there. He knows what we are going to do, but he's left us to make those choices, I think. Does that make sense?
Good
Any
point.
other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And thank you for joining. If Allah gives me more strength in life, the next lecture I would like to have is Satan in the Quran. And what role does he play in our life? And I'm writing an essay, which is not very academic, and if you, my email address is mahdiashraf@msn.com. Mahdi, MEHDIASHRAF @msn.com. And if you're interested, send me an email so that I can, once the essay is completed, I will send the essay to you.
Mehdi, your next lecture is August 30th, Sunday.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tughal Bhai. Okay, so shall we disperse?
Yeah,
Yeah,
on behalf
sure.
of MKS Mehdi, we are very thankful to you and
Thank
your
you.
participation.
Thank you, Wasim.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, have a
Thank you,
wonderful
Wasim.
day.
Okay then. Khuda Hafiz. Thank you so much.
Khuda Hafiz. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you.
Thank you.